Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Sensitive Humor's podcast, where we talk anything pop culture or anything that interests us. We're your host, Phantom Voyager, or Travis, and Multimite, or Tyler.
What's up, everyone? Sorry, I was also to clarify, if the podcast somehow shuts down or if there's connection problems, apologize in advance. I'm not in the normal recording location, so you know, I'll I'll try and
Yeah.
keep it steady today.
Okay. Is there any small talk that you would like to talk about before we get jumped straight head into it?
I'm just on vacay, really. Like that's all I really got to say. But I do have some big plans branding wise for my channel. But other than that, yeah, nothing too big. I guess the one thing I can say though is, this might be unfortunate for some people, but all the old videos that I was promising to like release and whatnot, I haven't had a time to go and finish like editing them or something. So I'm basically holding on to them in cold storage. Like everything I record
Mm,
from now on, that's what I might be uploading. Like I'm basically starting over with whatever needs to be recorded or whatnot. So kind of
okay.
fresh slate because it was stressing me out, and I was like, well, I'm gonna get all this content like late to them, or you know, and maybe in the future if like I bring it up and people are like, yeah, we'd like to see it, even though it's like a year old or so, then maybe I will. But for now, we'll yeah, just kind of start over in a sense. But what about you? What about your small talk?
Um, well, for me, not much. There was a pop culture thing that came up that I kind of wanted to briefly talk about. Um, is the live action version of How to Train Your Dragon. Have you seen that trailer yet or no?
No, but I have heard it's already really good. Like it's already getting good reception and feedback, so I'm looking forward to it. Like I think it'll be cool.
Yeah, that's exactly my expectations. I'm cool with it. I think it's gonna be really interesting. Um, I kind of wondered why it took them so long to do a live action, but I was kind of okay with it just being an animated series. But I think it'd be cool to see the dragons look more realistic, more alive. And
And
I'm glad they're finding actors that like look vaguely similar to the characters.
well, and also what I think is smart is like they're keeping it really close to the original. And I think that's important cuz like just to kind of take notes, Disney and whoever else may want to, make a live action adaptation of previous projects, instead of changing a bunch of stuff, keep what you already have and make it a longer runtime. Like add new stuff to stuff that's already been like put there and established. Because I heard the opposite about Lilo and Stitch, where it like is getting really bad reception. So,
Mm,
and honestly, I don't blame people because I heard the changes they've made. I'm not going to say what they are in case people don't want it spoiled or anything. I haven't seen it. I just kind of spoiled it for myself because, like, I don't really care too much about it. Like, I'll probably watch it at some point, but I'll never, like, you know, I probably won't go to theaters to go see it. So.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, honestly, with most of the movies coming out nowadays, anyways, I kind of just wait for them to be like available at home, so I don't have to waste money going to see them.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you there. Like, the only thing I'm looking forward to is like Marvel stuff because it's like, yes, it's kind of the same rehash of like every other superhero story in a sense, or at least the same formula, but it's got, you know, deeper meanings and lessons in like most of them. Like that's what I really liked about Thunderbolts. It was literally a metaphor for depression, and I think that's again such an important topic. And I think it's helped me realize things in my life in a weird way. Like I know movies shouldn't, you know, be the only thing to encourage people or anything, and I'm not saying it is the only thing that encourages me, but like, it kind of gave me a perspective of like, okay, well, it kind of inspired me to make some changes in my life, like what what can I put aside and what can I pursue to like, better myself in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's yeah, the like I said, it looks like if anything, they'll just be adding stuff. And that's a good thing too, because from what I understand is it's the original director that made the animated movies and um yeah, like from what I can tell, they got like scene for scene from all the past like or from the past movies, so but yeah,
Which is good.
yeah.
Um, we're gonna play while we talk. It's kind of like what we normally do now.
Yeah, like
Um,
I said, if it gets a little technical difficulties, then we might just have to do it in the lobby. But yeah, no, I'm down
yeah.
to try and get it working because it was working earlier.
Okay. Well, that's good. So I'll just start with the topic right now. So I've been reading a lot of books lately,
Hmm.
um, which is good.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I agree.
so knowledge is important, and it's good to read every now and then. Anyways, so I wanted to talk about like our favorite books or like books that we liked growing up or books or like the type of books that we like to read. And yes, that includes comic books because in my eyes, comic books are books. I mean, they're in a library for a reason. I know some people are like, "Oh, comic books aren't actual books," and I've actually met a couple people that say that. But anyways, yeah. So favorite books. It's gonna be my idea. So, do you have any favorite books?
Yes, so I actually do have a couple of like not childhood books, but like, well, yes, childhood books, but I would say like the books that stuck with me the most, I'll probably talk about. Like, I'll probably do a brief summary of like some things that I have read in the past, but you know, like I think for one, like, everyone that was in elementary school kind of could probably relate to this, but like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I think that's a pretty like common one, I'd say. Same with
Yeah.
like Captain Underpants, or for newer generations, it'd be like, Dogman or whatever else. Like there's a slew. I would consider them like kids books. Like I'm sure adults enjoy them as well. Like, cause I guess the same could be said about like, oh yeah, it's a kids movie or a kids TV show or whatever. Like, I guess just as long as you enjoy it, and not in a creepy way, obviously, but like, in a way that brings you comfort or satisfaction in a storytelling sense. So,
Yeah.
um, and then, yeah, I don't know. Like, how do you want me to do this? Do you want me to go like you give me a book and I give you a book, and then you give me a book, vice versa,
Um,
or like, are we gonna kind of?
Maybe we could do it that way if you would like. I was just thinking like just talking about our favorite books, but that's an interesting way to do it.
Well, and yeah, like I don't want to take up all the time or like just blabber my mouth off and So like, cause I'll be honest, I only have like a few series that again like actually stuck with me. Like there's some stuff that I remember, but nothing that like stuck
Okay.
solidly. Like I'll kind of maybe that's what I'll do. I'll do like the stuff that, didn't like leave a long lasting impression compared to like others or something. But do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Um, I can go first. I'm just gonna go with my one of my most go-to childhood books. And that's gonna be Fablehaven,
Okay.
by Brandon Mull.
Yep.
Brandon Mull is probably one of my favorite like artists out there. I won't lie. I get it, like he writes mostly like kid books, but like I like them. They've always been super interesting to me, and yeah, I don't know, like it's just Fablehaven's always held a special place in my heart as a kid. Um, it's it's like the adventuristic style of being able to like go on these adventures and escape to your own reality type. I guess it's like thing. I guess I don't know how to prescribe or how to say it, but it's just the reason why I've always liked it.
Yeah, no, I think I understand what you're trying to say. Like, cause I agree. Like, I read Fablehaven as well, but it was honestly one of the books that didn't stick as much as the three series that I do remember a lot more. But yeah, no, I think I want to give that series a try again because like I think I only really remember stuff from like the first book and the last book, but like everything in between is kind of like a haze, and that's probably because I read it back in elementary school or even I think the start of high or middle school. I don't think it was even that earlier. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's been a while, but
Yeah,
yeah, no, I remember enjoying what I read. It like some of that is, you know, my reason for liking more fantasy sides of storytelling. Like I love myself a good sci-fi or a good modern take on things or superheroes or whatnot, but I really do like the idea of a fantasy world and like all the potential that can happen with the storytelling in a fantasy world compared to like a modern storyteller or a sci-fi. Like I guess one could
yeah,
argue sci-fi and fantasy are kind of like side by side, but you know. Um
yeah.
but I think for me the first series that I read and finished, and well, actually, Fablehaven was that, but I think what the one that I remembered though was Harry Potter. I read all the books growing up. I watched all the movies, like I love them and everything. But like I think it was 2 years ago I reread the series, and I just remember being like, man, the books are like just so much better than the movies. Like I still like the movies, and they'll still hold a special place in my heart for like the Harry Potter series, but I don't know, like I'm looking forward to the reboot series that they're going to do on Max cuz it'll be divided into seasons rather than movies, so that way they have more time to, hash out the characters or tell the story or whatever. Like, see things that we didn't get to see in the movies and, like, almost like book accurate word for word if I had to imagine. Like, I think there's already some, uh, like, not complications, but like there's some people that are already complaining about it, or some people that are like OG Harry Potter movie fans that are like, why would you do this? Like the movies were fine. They weren't even made that long ago. And I understand that side of people too. Like I do think a lot lately people have just been finding a reason to reboot something just to retell a story that's been told like years ago. But I don't know. To tell the whole story though, through a TV show, that would be awesome. As long as they do it right.
I was
Cause
about to say, I hope they like as long as they don't mess it up too much.
yeah.
Because like I feel like now they're like going too far with these, you know?
I mean, yeah, like we literally just spoke at the beginning, like no one's really doing original stuff anymore, which is unfortunate cuz I feel like there's a lot of potential with original ideas. But then there's also the argument like, well, when someone comes out with an original idea, like people always compare it to older ideas or whatever. Like there's always a complaint, there's always a complainer. And don't get me wrong, I love series that or like stories that can be continued through universes I already enjoy and whatnot, but I also don't mind the idea of something new. Like, I haven't watched it personally, but you know who Zack Snyder is?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I've heard his name a lot, so.
Yeah, so he's the guy who directed like, Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, like all those like DC movies. But apparently he wanted to direct a rated R like Star Wars film, and Disney rejected the idea. So what he did is he went to Netflix with his idea and basically made his own idea, if that makes sense. Like he made his own
Mm.
sci-fi and story with the elements he was going to use with his Star Wars story. So, you know, and it's called Rebel Moon for people wondering what I'm talking about.
So he
But
made an original. Okay.
yeah, and I want to watch it. I heard like mixed reviews on it, but I think most of them were positive. I could be wrong. It was made a long, long time ago. Well, not long, long time ago, but like it was made a little bit ago, like a couple of years or so. Um, and I have yet to watch it still, but yeah, no, I've heard again good and bad things, and again like people can compare it to whatever they want or whatever, but at the end of the day it is an original story, so like what does it matter if it's not the exact or if it is very similar to some exact things from other franchises. Like I don't mind that. I don't mind people taking some elements and like renaming it or, using it for their own storytelling purposes. Like I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of good opportunity because it's almost like doing a what if of another story if you think about it, because it's technically a different story with a different outcome.
I think the whole like what if series is pretty cool.
I
Like the whole like different versions and realities of different things.
I mean, I would agree with you. I personally don't like it. Like, or at least the stories they twist on it. Like I don't like what they twisted. Like I wish, because there are some what if stories that are like actually cool in the Marvel comics that I wish they would touch upon, but like Captain Carter is one of them. I think that one's good, but like it's not, my favorite or anything. But
Yeah, I think Captain Carter's pretty cool.
yeah.
She's a little underappreciated in my opinion, but
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one too. Like think a lot of people give it a lot more hate than, most people should. Like I would like some more Spider-Man what if stuff obviously, but like that's again my bias because I'm like, oh, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, like I have no problem with them doing other stories. I didn't enjoy a lot of the what if stories as much as like probably a lot of other people did. Um, but yeah, no, like I honestly like I've like there's a YouTuber that um I've seen he does what if Star Wars basically, like mini animations. So like an example is like what if Anakin didn't kill Mace Windu and they turned Palpatine in or whatever, or if he let Mace
Mm,
Windu kill Emperor Palpatine, like, and it was ultimately like a happy ending, and I'm like, man, like I kind of want to see that because you can't help but feel in the moment of Anakin's betrayal, like, you know, like he could have easily made the right decision right there. Like Mace Windu had Emperor Palpatine beat. Like
yeah. I
so
also feel like Anakin was just like misled, and I feel like you can't help but feel bad for the guy because he didn't. I mean, like he knew what was right and wrong, but he was just so like mind washed that like that wasn't the right way, and so he decided to go that way. Like I just feel bad for him, honestly.
well yeah, and the other thing is like a lot of people forget this, but Emperor Palpatine was like a friend and almost like father figure that like a lot of the Jedi should have been for him, but a lot of them didn't trust him, or some even like hated the idea of him becoming a Jedi because he was too old. He already had attachments to family and friends. So to see him like, struggle with that, and instead of like trying to help him through the struggles, a lot of the Jedi would brush it off. Like even his own master, which was like a father slash brother figure to him, like Obi-Wan would always like be like, "Oh, you're having bad dreams. Well, just walk it off. Like it'll pass in due time." And it's like, okay, well, that's not the answer he wants to hear. He
Hmm.
needed, and I've heard from many people kind of express it in the best way. Like Anakin needed a father figure, whereas Obi-Wan was more like the big brother, but he needed a
Hmm.
father figure.
Yeah,
Um,
I see that a lot.
so like Qui-Gon could have easily held up that role, but because he died, Anakin turned to the dark side, and everything that happened was meant to happen. But moving on back to books, I guess it's your turn because I talked about Harry Potter last, I believe.
Okay. Harry Potter's I like the Harry Potter books. It's just they're just too long for my opinion. So, but they're really good books though, from what I heard. I really liked the Hobbit books. Um, I read that book a lot as a kid. I guess like my book style or my reading type is more like fantasy, more mystical creatures and like adventuring and going to like unknown territories and
I
that
mean,
type of stuff.
that is kind
So,
of Harry Potter, but yeah, no, I get what you mean.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, admittedly, yeah, no, I get what you're saying though. Like, The Hobbit literally takes place in like a completely different realm, whereas like Harry Potter's literally on Earth if wizards existed and there was a school for them. So yeah, no, I definitely get what you're saying though. Like I personally am kind of like I don't know. I read The Hobbit as well. That was the other one that I was talking about that stuck with me. So it seems like we do have very similar taste in books. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely wish I read a lot more. Like I wish I read Lord of the Rings because that's the other thing too is I haven't read Lord of the Rings because I was always told, especially in elementary, like, oh, you're too young, like you'll not make it past the first book or whatever, like, and I'm like, okay, so like I was just completely discouraged from reading that trilogy or what was originally I think one book and then they split it into a trilogy. I was just kind of like, disappointed that like I couldn't read what I wanted to attempt to read, or at least people thought I couldn't read. So, and I'm not saying like, that should have been my full separation from trying that series, but as a younger kid, you couldn't help but feel like, you're put in a place where like you're told, "Hey, you're not good enough or you're not um capable enough of reading such literature." And it's like, okay, well, I wanted to at least try. Like, is there a problem with me trying? And I've never gotten back to it, but I definitely want to at some point. Because yeah, no, I heard the Lord of the Rings books. They're long and they start slow, but I heard they're really good. So, and I bet there's a
Yeah,
lot of.
that
Or sorry, God.
I was just gonna say they are really interesting books. I mean, like they are very long, but they are very good. I've read those books. I've read like it was always like a key thing to me as like a kid in like at the book fair, like, oh, I get this book, but it comes with a map. Oh, that's way cool, you know?
Yeah,
But anyways.
yeah. No, I get what you mean. Like, I think well, and that's the other thing too is like reading books was really fun to me because it was something I could do without like a degree or whatever. Like to write a story, you don't need a degree to do that. Just like an average or basic knowledge of like literature and words. Like obviously like some stories told are better when explained in a with a higher vocabulary or whatever. But at the end of the day, all you need is like words to write down your ideas and your storyline and whatever else. Like it all depends on, how far you're willing to go to tell that story. Like and I mean, from what I was told though, like when you're like I don't remember what the exact age was, but it's around our age when our learning curve kind of like stops, like our brains are fully developed. So it's always good to like
Mm,
develop yourself the most in your 20s and then like by the time you're, 30, you can accept like, hey, this is me and I'm ready to, push on with something else and move on. And then the same could be about like people's storytelling methods. Like, um, I might have said this before on the podcast, but I'm writing a couple of books. But one that I'm like that's stuck with me since high school is a fantasy that was inspired from like Lord of the Rings and Dungeons and Dragons and such. I've written it since like ninth or 10th grade, and
mm.
I've been rewriting it like two or three times. So like I've started at like the same point the past like I don't know 7, 8 years of my life. So I've never gotten past a certain point in the story. Um, but every time I go back and rewrite it, I see the difference. I see the growth from my writing into the next adaptation of what I originally wrote. And like even now I'm like thinking of ideas on what I could do for that book as we talk about books alone, and that encourages me to again want to read more. Like I'm kind of upset I didn't bring a book with myself to the vacation because it's like a 4 hour drive to where we are, and for the most part I just listened to music or fell asleep, and like I could have easily been doing something productive with all that time, and I would consider reading a huge, you know not how do I put it in a simpler term to say like yeah I did something that increased my knowledge but like didn't actually do something like I don't know.
Yeah. Like my okay, so I'll admittedly say this. I don't really read the books. I mean, I will. Like I'll have the book and I'll follow along, but it's mostly like I'll listen to audiobooks or something to
I think that counts in a sense because you're still listening to the story and you're learning vocabulary like through that sense. Because like, I mean, you remember back in like elementary and I think the earlier years of like middle school, you'd have like a teacher like read the books to us as a class. Like it wasn't like go your separate ways and read some of the books that they'd have us do reports on. Like I
yeah.
remember sometimes I remember a couple of teachers, in fact, that would read us the books themselves rather than, have us go and read them ourselves, just so that way we're like all listening together and we're all learning or hopefully learning at the same pace and whatnot. So,
Like I remember back in high school, well, for high school and for other years as well, I would you use the same book or not the same book, but the same book series for every yearbook up until graduation.
oh,
So I
like the
used
same book report.
Fablehaven's. Well, I used like so like one year I'd use Fablehaven, and then the next one it would be Fablehaven 2, and then just go all the way up to 5, and then just repeat over and over and over again because I have those books memorized. I listened to them on CD every night before I went to bed, so just I basically just I don't know. I wouldn't say cheated the system, or I guess I consider being lazy, whatever. But that's just how I did it, and I thought it was fun. But
Yeah, no, I wouldn't consider that cheating or like, not reading. Like I think that's kind of yeah, along the lines of what we're talking about. Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe everyone in the comments like argue whether or not like having a
is
book
that
read to
cheating?
you, yeah, like not cheating necessarily, but you guys get what we mean. Like is having someone read you the story like not actually
The same
reading
as
or at least intaking the knowledge of the story itself. Like, I don't know. Like, and the other thing is, like, as long as you understand the story, like, I feel like that counts. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe you have to be capable of writing and reading the story. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the exact qualifications are for what is reading and what is only listening. I don't know. I don't know how to put it into words to make it seem like there is a difference because I really don't feel like there is.
yeah, like it's just like I don't know. Like I have dyslexia, and it's just hard for me to read. And so I have dyslexia and ADHD. So like it's already a bit of a tuffle to wanna like read a book and then like mess up on a few words in a row and then I just give up because it's my ADHD is like, yeah, you know what? You messed up enough. You might as well just stop. So I just I just like to listen to the book more than I like to read it. I mean, I do have all five of the books, but like occasionally I'll pull out like take the book with me to work and follow along while I'm at on lunch break or something. But
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. Like that was another thing I was gonna bring up. Like, are there books that you want to read but haven't yet, or are there books you want to like reread that maybe you've only read like once or so? Like something like that. Is there anything like that at the moment, or are you just kind of like sticking
um.
with like the same like just Fablehaven for now, or The Hobbit or whatnot?
I do want to read like fully read all of the Lord of the Rings. I haven't read all of them. Um I also wanted to read a bit of Narnia
Oh yeah.
because their books are way different from the movie. I mean, completely different from the movie. There's so much more in depth in the book, obviously, because books usually are. But it's very cool on what's like in the books. Like I stopped reading the book because it wasn't anything like the movie. But
Well,
I wanted to like get bypass. Like obviously, like at that time, I didn't really understand it. Like I was reading the book and I'm like, this doesn't sound right. Peter didn't do this, and then I'm like, oh well. I mean, obviously it's in the book. This book came out way longer than the movie did. So.
and also another thing that people got to realize is the books, like the way the books are written, is different than how they introduced the films because the first book in the Narnia series wasn't even made into a movie. Like
Mm-mm.
the witch, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, that was the second book in the series, whereas the first movie or first book wasn't even adapted into a movie. So yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Like I do want to read Narnia. I would like to finally read Lord of the Rings, and then I also want to read the Percy Jackson books. I also heard there's like a sequel or spin-off series that instead of the Greek gods, there's one about like the Norse gods. Um,
Mm-mm.
and then I got this book a while ago, and I've been meaning to read it because it's a Star Wars book. But it's a book that takes place after an episode in Star Wars Visions, and I'm sure a lot of people who've watched the show or at least heard the name probably recognizes the episode. I don't think it's called The Ronin. That's what the book is called, but it is about a character called the Ronin. Um, and in the show, like it kind of leaves you off with wondering, like, okay, this takes place in a different like timeline, or at least different like part of the universe in Star Wars.
Mm-mm.
And you kind of want to know more about that side of the story. So the book kind of continues off where you left off in the one episode that they had of that story. Like I was hoping cuz they did a second season of Visions like a year or two ago. And I was really upset that they didn't continue off of that story, the Ronin.
Mm-mm.
They just did a like I think I think it's like 8 or 10 episodes per season. So it's kind of like what's that one show with a bunch of different stories? It's like Death, Love, and Robots or something, where it like tells a different
Oh,
story in each
yeah.
episode. Yeah, so that's
And they're
what's
all different in their own animation styles and everything. Yeah, those are cool.
yeah, so that's exactly what Star Wars Visions is. Except instead of like just different animation styles, it's almost like different like anime or Japanese animation styles, which is pretty cool. And I was hoping at least one of the episodes would be a continuation from uh, that episode specifically because a lot of people really liked that episode, especially like me included. Like I was really disappointed that they didn't do that. Although there are rumors that they'll probably be doing a TV show completely about the Ronin. And I think that was their main tactic. They were like, okay, we'll make a bunch of episodes of like a bunch of random stories, and whatever's like the most favored will turn into a TV show. And I think that was exactly their plan. I could be wrong though. Like maybe they just thought it would be a one off. But yeah.
Because when you mentioned the Ronin, I thought you were talking about like the last Ronin, like Ninja Turtles Ronin.
Well, that is a story. I think that's just a comic. There might be a book. I don't know. Like, are there Ninja Turtle books like besides comics? It's probably a
Do you consider comics as books, or do you just consider them their own thing?
I would separate the two. Like, yes, it tells a
Okay.
story in a different way because, like, literature, like reading a novel, I think is way different than reading a book. Like reading a comic book, I mean. Because like reading a comic book is like almost watching a movie, but you're reading the subtitles basically. So like you kind of imagine what their voices and stuff sound like. Like I mean, yes, you do the same thing with um reading like a novel that doesn't have pictures, but I think that's the magic of a book is you have to envision it yourself. Like you almost use more brain power to make images in your head of like what does this character look like? What does this character sound like? You know, like and I think that's really cool. Or like, you know, picturing the scenes or scenarios that each character is in. And I think that almost strengthens one's creativity. Like I could be completely wrong on that, but I would like to think so. Like I think I would like to think because I liked reading so much, like and like I liked English class or whatever people want to call it, like English reading, whatever the class was actually classified as, but um I really enjoyed that class because it's where I thrived in. It's where I got to express my imagination the most besides like art class. But again,
Hmm.
like I wasn't a huge fan of our art class or our art teacher because I felt like I
No.
didn't really get to express that imagination as much as I did in like writing. Because like in some
I felt
classes they'd have us write for like 20 minutes or something. It could be about your day, it could be a short story, it could be a continuation of a story you're already reading. And every time in that journal, I would write the same story. And it was the one that I was talking about that I've been writing since like ninth or 10th grade. Like, I've been writing that book for so long and I've rewritten it so many times that, you know, like I just kind of have a general idea of how I want it to read out. And in fact, at one point, I wanted that book or that story at least to be um, a comic book at one point, but now I'm like, okay, I want it to be a book, then a comic book, and then a movie or something along those lines. Like, I want it to be, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but that's probably the best way I can say is like how I want to show my stories. Because that's the other thing, too. Like, as a wannabe storyteller, I want to tell a story in multiple ways. So like one way I want to write a book, one way I want to write a comic book, and then another way I want to write a show or another way I want to write a movie, you know, like just try each different way and see which one I thrive in the most. And then whatever I thrive in the most, maybe that's what I pursue, you know? Like that's like and obviously that's, you know, trying to come up with like a way to kind of show people how you write stories or where to even put stories that are, you know, online or whatever have you. Like there's plenty of like reading and whatnot stories or apps, I mean, that wannabe authors and storytellers can, you know, tell their stories. But yeah, I don't
like with English class, I think it was English class. Um, I enjoyed it mostly because this is gonna sound so stupid and so lazy, but you gotta. I like how they had us watch the movies and then oh, he's down there. Watch the movies and then like you basically read the book off of that movie, and I liked that whenever they did the like The Giver or some of the older school books.
yeah,
I
no,
just
I
liked it because like you get to watch something and then read on it, which is like the same concept as me listening to the book and then reading it.
well, and I think an important detail too is like some classes, or at least the English class I was in, what they'd have us do is kind of the opposite. They'd have us do read the book and then watch the movie and then ask us, okay, so what's the difference between the two of them? Like, what did they miss? What did they change? And then, like, some of that was the book report rather than, like an actual book report where we just summarize the book that we read.
Like, I like The Giver. The Giver's a good book. That's another one of my books that I'm gonna throw out there. It's a very interesting book. I don't know. I just like the idea about it.
I was going to say, it's a
Um,
very interesting story, like, in an interesting perspective on what the world could look like in, I guess, one would consider a perfect utopia, but like it's also kind of messed up because it was like, and I don't know how many people know how the Spartans worked, but like, if there was ever like a baby that was deformed or
too weak.
deficient or, yeah, weak, they would just basically throw it out. And it was like in that same exact world where they only looked for perfection. They would run tests on you to see like what job you required and whatnot. And then, yeah, obviously the giver was the guy that memorized everything from the past life before that quote unquote utopia, which is kind of messed up too because the main character's dad is the one that euthanizes the babies at birth, which is again
Hmm.
messed up. Like I never watched the movie because I was like, it was already messed up in the book. I don't know if they actually did it in the movie, but I don't think
I'll spoil it for you and say that they did.
they did. Did they even
Yeah, they
show him?
show it.
Did they even show him like throwing the baby down the chute like it explained in the book?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is
Like they
so
showed
messed
they
up.
showed yeah, they showed the dad. Well, the main character, aka the kid, was like in the room and they were like explaining to him like what actually happens and everything. And it shows like the dad injecting the needle into the baby, making it go to sleep, and they're like, "What's going on? Like, what's going on with the baby?" And yeah, the dad like takes it and puts it in the chute. Well, they put it in like a box and then put it in the chute, I think, but it's still the same concept.
I was gonna say it's still just as messed up. Like that's like really disturbing. Yeah, no,
Like it's an interesting book, like where like the movie I thought was weird but cool for this because like they would play half the movie in black and white and then it would like as time goes on and the main character like starts to see things how it truly is, it fades from black to white into color because like he's starting to see things how they actually are.
yeah, or how an imperfect world is the perfect world. In other words, like I don't know. Like I guess the same could be said about, storytelling is, don't look for perfection, like kind of look for the errors. Like look at a story like the way it's told and then have that inspire you to write your own stories in a way. Like have that to like be like, "Oh, if I wrote this book, I would do it differently." Now, I'm not saying go and rewrite a certain book or anything. I'm saying write your own book with those own twists of how you would like write that kind of story or something. Like if you like that genre, or maybe even that is the twist. Like instead of this movie or show or book being sci-fi, I would have done it like fantasy or something like that. So it's things like those, like that encourage me to be an author. Is like I look for ideas in storytelling of my own, and I kind of almost like call out to people that may also want to be authors, like do the same. Like find your creativity through the differences that you do or the things you disagree with, or because that ultimately at the end of the day, that's what makes a story is its difference and its uniqueness to the world. Like it can be like whether it's worded or whether like the whole lore and backstory of it's different. Like it doesn't matter as long as like you have an audience or you have like a story to tell, you know, like cuz if you just write words on a paper, which I think I did back in elementary school when I didn't like writing for a while, um they asked us to write a story and I didn't think they would write it, so I just or read it, I mean. So I just wrote a bunch of random words. And they were like, "What is this?" Like, why well, what did you write? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just like I wrote, you
Stuff.
know, a paragraph or whatever, like whatever the assignment was, and they're like, yeah, a paragraph that makes sense, not, you know, this gibberish. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll do it again or whatever. So, but over time, I've grown to appreciate writing down stuff, especially like on pencil and paper. I know that's kind of like a weird thing, like, cause I don't know. For me, it's just more satisfying to write something down in like a small notebook or whatever. Like it's just more satisfying to me. Like I enjoy reading or writing down stuff on normal pencil and paper sometimes. Like yes, I draw and stuff like digitally, and I even like the book that I'm rewriting for the third or fourth time. I'm doing it on Google Docs, but you know, I'm not like completely segregating myself from writing on pencil and paper because those were my like literal roots and whatnot. So
Like I would love nothing more but to read book or to write stuff down, but I know I have horrible handwriting, so no, I can't because my handwriting is
well,
not that good.
I mean that's the
So,
other thing too. As long as you can read the rough draft, it doesn't matter because when I write something down in pencil and paper, that's not what's going to be the book. What's going to be the book is what's typed in afterwards, you know, like and then whatever's typed in afterwards you send to the editor and then that's the final product. Like you have like a proofreader or whatever and then the book's out. It's published. So, and
I'm
granted,
honestly excited to read your book.
yeah, I need to start writing it again. And I also have another idea like cuz for those of you who were probably waiting on it or probably like remember me talking about it, like my branding and my like you know refresh of doing YouTube content, me and the guy that we're doing the comic book, we just haven't like both neither of us have had time to work on it like for a long time. Like we're both just kind of doing our own thing. So
Hmm.
like and it like he hasn't said this, I've kind of said this to myself, but I think we're like done working on it for now. Like maybe I can get him to like coordinate with me at some point, but he's doing his own thing, I'm doing my own thing and we haven't talked about it in a while. So yeah, like my channel, we're kind of doing a fresh restart, and I have a new story I want to tell, admittedly. Like, it'll probably be a comic book because I think it'd be cool on, you know, comic panels rather than on a, you know, written in story form like my fantasy. Because this one's like sci-fi fantasy, which I'm really excited to work on. Um, but yeah,
Sci-fi fantasy. That sounds cool.
yeah, no, I'm gonna have a blast with this one because I can literally, like, when you combine those two, you can literally do anything. It's like D&D. You can like make up something and make it happen if you roll a 20. You know, it's just something like that. Like, I really look forward to doing stuff like that.
Just endless possibilities.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I guess kind of going back to reading, we only have 6 minutes left, but is there anything else you had in mind you'd like us to talk about? Like maybe favorite authors or, you know.
Um, Brandon Mole's my favorite author. Um, I want to finish reading well, I've already finished reading Fablehaven more than a dozen times, but like I want to read some of his other books like The Beyonders or he has one called The Candy Shop, which looks pretty interesting. I wanted to read that. Um, I also like Stephen King. He has a lot of really cool books. I've read a couple of his, but I've also seen a lot of his movies. But
Yeah.
um,
Also, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I gotta go use the restroom real quick. I've been trying to hold it this whole time, but
you're fine.
so yeah, I'll be right back, and then I'll give my final thoughts when I get back.
Okay. Well, while he's going potty, um, Fablehaven, if you guys are curious, is basically a brother and a sister who go to their grandparents' house, or like, well, yeah, it's their house, but it's like their, how do I say this? Their sanctuary. They own a whole bunch of land, and Seth and Kendra, who are the brother and the sister. Kendra's the older sister, Seth is the younger brother. Anyways, they go there and they accidentally figure out. Well, it's not really an accident. Their grandpa, uh, he basically gave Kendra keys to the to basically show her the secret, but he was doing it in the sense of like if you're worthy enough, you'll be able to like figure it out. But anyways, it's based about like hold on here. It's about like a brother and a sister who basically find themselves on a mythical preserve where they are surrounded by mythical creatures, and they basically their whole like their grandparents' preserve gets under attack, and they basically had to save the preserve. It's about like mythical creatures and the like I don't know how to exactly say it precisely, but it's like a whole bunch of mystical creatures and a brother and a sister fighting to save their family, and it's a really cool adventuristic book. It's a really cool book now that I'm older. Like I read been listening to this book since I think elementary, maybe I think maybe elementary school. It's been forever. Um, but anyways, yeah, it's just a good book. I'd recommend it if anyone ever wants to give it a listen. Um, I've also read and listened to the book called Aragon. It's about a dragon. Um, Anything that has to do with mythical creatures or like Greek mythology or Norse mythology or anything that's not super like well, Norse mythology and Greek mythology is kind of is basically real life, but it's more of like the creature size. I love like mythical creatures like dragons, centaurs, satyrs, minotaurs. I love all those types of griffins and cool things like that. So that's kind of the genre of books I will mostly lean forward towards, more towards, I should say. Um, I lead also like horror movies and horror books or books about like detectives. I haven't read any book about Sherlock Holmes, but I've been watching the show or rewatching the show Sherlock Holmes. It's a really good show. Um, how much longer? We got like 2 minutes. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Um, Stephen King books are pretty interesting. Um, I've also read the book for like Pennywise or
Oh my
like
god, sorry.
it, but that's a pretty good book series as well.
Talking to him about or recommending stuff to people.
Yeah.
Nice. Alrighty. Well, I'll give my final thoughts because there is one author I forgot to bring up, and that I've read a couple of his books, or at least I finished one of his books and started reading another, but I do want to finish both series. And I think you've heard of him, Brandon Sanderson.
Yes, I've heard of Brendan Sanderson. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, my dad recommended him to me, so I started reading him, and I really like his stuff because it's like a good mix of like dark but like humorous. Like it's almost like Deadpool, like where it's a dark situation, but then there's like characters that can relieve that dark side of things, if that makes sense.
It makes
Um,
sense.
yeah. So the two books in his series that I was referring to, one called Steelheart, which is a superhero series, and the other one called Mistborns. I finished reading
Mm.
Steelheart a while back. I need to finish it. And then I started reading Mistborns, but never finished the first book. But I do plan on doing that because they're both very interesting to me, very interesting concepts. But I guess that's my recommendation is, yeah, just Brandon Sanderson. As a writer, I think a lot of people will enjoy his stuff. He's got some of his own unique twists on a lot of different things. But yeah, I don't got much else to say. Do you want to do our outro?
Sure, I'll do the outro. Well, everyone, if you guys did enjoy, please go follow my boy here on YouTube. Multi hyphen might is very important that the hyphen's there. We can't express this enough. Seriously. Um, so yeah, go follow or subscribe, leave like, comments, everything because we need to grow his fan base. And
Appreciate it.
then for me, well, you're already here on his Twitch channel, so just drop a follow. I mean, you're already here. You might as well. And for me, I got my Phantom Voyager Twitch channel. I haven't really uploaded all that much. My new work schedule's kind of, like I just now switched my days off, so I'm trying to figure out a way to balance my streaming schedule as well now. But I do occasionally will like stream here and there. But yeah, if you guys want to drop a follow on there, go ahead. It's up to you. I won't be too upset if you don't want to. But anyways, don't forget to go to YouTube and check out our Sense of Humor's podcast YouTube channel as well. Um, if I did it right, then I think that should be it, right?
Yeah, it should be it. So yeah, thanks everybody for watching or listening. See you guys in the next one. Peace.
Peace.